Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to share. I'm going to start this one early. We're going to talk about a whole lot of good stuff today and a little bit of breaking news as well. First of all, we'll talk about, again, the questions are brilliant every week. That's why I love doing it, because I get smarter. I sharpen my tools. Talk about Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, Tesla versus MicroStrategy, a whole bunch of new AI stocks. We'll do an analysis of crypto versus TradFi, like Solana versus Visa versus MasterCard versus other chains. We'll talk about another bunch of wealth hacks and how timing markets is harder than you think and how taxes need to be taken into consideration. We'll talk about Bitcoin per share. We'll talk about gamma squeezes, decoded, what they look like, how you can identify them, how much cash you need for different types of market situations, and a ton more. And I just got some breaking news as well from Wonder Twin that Amazon is now voting on putting 5% of the cash into, guess what? Bitcoin. It's freaking insane, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe it. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Thank you, T&D Tesla. Thank you, Sean Donnelly. Thank you, Sir Winston. Thank you as well, Nick M. and the whole gang, and K8 and Blaze Little Blaze and everybody else. This is going to be an interesting one. And I actually uncovered something I didn't even realize regarding one of these names here too. But let's get into it. Not financial advice, just a guy on the internet, as you know. And all the questions come from Patreon. Thank you, everybody in Patreon. Let's go. First question. It looks like a bit of a long one. This is the first time the Dumb Founder one has posted. Welcome to the family. Thank you for all your hard work and for changing my life. My pleasure. I have an interesting question regarding MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. Over the years, you see so many people just wish they've never sold their Bitcoin because they bought so low and then they swapped it for pizzas, etc. And they could make more money rotating out of Bitcoin into other investments, when in reality, the HODL strategy proves supreme. My question: why not apply the same strategy to MicroStrategy? I know you've mentioned about rotation out of MicroStrategy eventually, but my spot position is at $52. So why not just hodl through the bear and continue exponential gains into the next cycle? Thank you for your consideration. This is so true. And I've said multiple times as well that my calculus on MicroStrategy has changed, especially since the $42 billion, the 2121, which is this puppy right here. This is the plan status. So this is where they are, the ATM. This is supposed to be, by the way, $42 billion over 3 years. They've already done half of the ATM in a couple of weeks. It is absolutely insane. And a lot of the convertibles still to do. They've only done $3 billion of that. The point is, now everybody is getting the infinite money glitch. You got the likes of Preston Pish, Checkmatey, Fred Krueger, Dylan LeClaire, all the people that really understand Bitcoin now really understand MicroStrategy too. So I am so happy. I've been talking about it embarrassingly since 2020. Now the world is coming. So what did they do? They issue shares at a premium to buy Bitcoin. And then they issue debt at 0% interest to buy Bitcoin, which is convertible 3 or 4 years from now. That's the money glitch. It's not hard. Now, my cost basis for MicroStrategy is actually very low because I got in very early, very hard, did a lot of stuff with options, and, that's just my thing. But my cost basis is 90 cents, so I'm in a lot worse situation than you when it comes to capital gains. I have a monstrous capital gains tax exposure. And this has changed a lot of things too. Because not only because they're going to do this, all right, and we've proven over 4 years it works. And now Amazon, Microsoft are thinking of doing the same thing. Bitcoin could go up foreseeably forever. We may be done with bear markets. We'll talk more about that in a while as well. And the other thing that's very important to consider too is, imagine this, and this is a question I think about all the time. So imagine Bitcoin goes to, say, 120K to 150K, and it mean reverts, say, back to $75,000. Well, how does that work out from a tax perspective? And for those of you who are lucky enough to be in tax-free jurisdictions, I am envious. I am not, unfortunately, but that's okay. I don't mind paying taxes. You never go broke paying taxes. And it's also a good discipline. Let me tell you a little silver lining about taxes. Sometimes I stay in positions because I have long, huge capital gains taxes. I never sell them. Example, Bitcoin. Example, Tesla. And it makes me HODL long-term, like since 2017, which is very beneficial. So you're dead right. Sometimes being too cute, unless you're really good at it, can be very difficult. Let's talk about taxes and why the calculation could have changed. So imagine your cost basis hypothetically on Bitcoin is 10,000. You sell at 120. You got to pay taxes on 110,000. Imagine you owe 25% long-term capital gains taxes. I don't know what it is in your jurisdiction in the world. Some places it's a lot higher. You will owe 27,500. So basically, if you sell Bitcoin at 120 and you have to pay your taxes, and that assumes you nail the top of 120, if that's the top, you need to be able to re-enter back in at 82.5. The question is, could Bitcoin go back to 82.5? The answer is, I don't know. My floor price for Bitcoin is about $70,000, considering on-chain, considering scarcity, considering perpetual demand, yada, yada, yada. The type of stuff that Saylor's doing, the new treasuries coming, everything is incredibly bullish. So could you sell at 120 and hope to get back in under 80? I don't know. It's not guaranteed, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now, what happens if I take this and bring it back to MicroStrategy? What would you have to buy and sell at? This is where it gets a little bit different. And again, this little puppy you're looking at here, I gave birth to this in 2020. This is the original, still updated. This is the ARB calculator, the arbitrage calculator for MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. It's been around for a long time, but I want to focus you in on one thing here. Imagine we go to, say, Bitcoin $150,000 and the NAV premium is 2.5. That means MicroStrategy could go to $901. I want to put my little finger in my face and say $901 because you all know what that means. Somebody taught me that, so now I'm a meme. Anyhow, that's big from where we are today. That's more than a doubling. Again, NAV premium 2.5, Bitcoin to 150K. That's where the price of MicroStrategy would go to. And that could be the top of the bull market. If that happens, how low could we go in the bear? Well, if the bear is nasty and we go back to 75K and the NAV premium becomes 1, the price of MicroStrategy would be 257. So call it 260 from 901. That is a little bit different than going from 150 or 120 down to 75. Okay, so that's what you need to take into account. I think for me, I think you're dead right. Hold the bags and hedge the hell out of them. And I know exactly how to do that too, in a very efficient way. So more on that later within Patreon when the time comes. But that is, you're thinking along the right tracks. And sometimes hold your winners. Now, if, for example, MicroStrategy said, you know what, we're not going to buy any more Bitcoin, then that would change everything. All right. The fact is that a sailor said, this is infinitely scalable. And he is a man of his word when he says he's never going to sell. And now the markets trust him. He's not going to. So let's see how this plays out. Let's get to the second question and third question, which tie into the first question too, because everybody in my community has massive bags of MicroStrategy, and that's just a fact of life. Been allocating resources, this is from Shanzi, allocated resources each to buy MicroStrategy and Tesla, but wondering if I should be focusing on just the one stock now, considering the exceptional run we have had. Many thanks for your guidance on these two stocks. What's your thoughts? You believe focus on Tesla, considering the potential with FSD 13 being released to the public soon, or MicroStrategy because of the potential inclusion with QQQ, etc. Again, this is somebody was complaining that, you know, I had this rotation plan. It was my vision all 2023, 2024, top of the bull market in 2025, rotate out into Tesla to hope the price of Tesla stays low, and that did not happen. So all of our bags are running at the same time. Now, this is actually a very good problem to have, but it does change some of the plans. As I always say, tap dancing shoes. You never know what's going to happen, and everything should be rotated at relative values. And I'll get back to that in detail too. And Johnny Tsunami says, what is going to be the faster horse if all the right things align for either Tesla or a Bitcoin MicroStrategy or both within the next 5 years? So this is what is on everybody's mind. What should we do? And I don't know what we're going to do till we get closer to where things are actually happening. But I can tell you this, own both like I do. Okay. Let me tell you why. The Bitcoin future is bright, and it's getting brighter every single day. And so is MicroStrategy with the infinite money glitch. However, the risk is higher with MicroStrategy than Bitcoin, of course, but the return is extraordinary. We'll talk more about that in a minute, too. Tesla, however, is on the cusp of something extraordinary. And the growth out of this puppy over the next 3 to 4 years is going to be sick, ladies and gentlemen. Sick is what the teenagers tell me is a good word. Sick, ill, it means very good. It doesn't mean bad. Yeah. Anyway, the question is seasonality. That's the most important thing here. What will happen? So Tesla will run for years, I believe. You know, we're talking 2025, 2026 will be radical, and then just exponential growth after that, 2027, 28, 29. And Bitcoin and MicroStrategy may have a small bear market later in 2025. Everything, literally, the seasonality of Bitcoin has been operating like clockwork. The difference this time around is it's harder, it's scarcer, and it's an asset class. It's now over 2 trillion. It has the attention of everybody, and everybody wants to stack it. So that could also just go up forever. So we don't know what's going to pan out, but everything has changed, and everything is way better than I ever dreamed or expected. So hope that answers your question. Don't own one, have both, and if you can, pair trade tax-free, swap between them. That's what I do. Which I started doing this year, which is a lot of fun too. Crazy Cat. If you have some free time, could you make a chart showing the amount of Bitcoin per share of MicroStrategy over time and projecting the future with MicroStrategy buying 42 billion more? Yes, I can. And some people don't see every video, but I made a detailed video on this actually. It was called How to Stack More Bitcoin. And this is one of the examples of the output from the video. That is the actual holdings of MicroStrategy stock over time and the amount of Bitcoin per share since inception. Okay. In other words, you now have the highest level of Bitcoin per share ever. And they have diluted a lot, but they dilute and keep stacking Bitcoin hard, and therefore the shareholders are beneficiaries. Another view of this, I calculated Satoshis per share since inception, and this gives you a little bit of a clearer picture. I'll try to read the number of Satoshis you get now. It's about 175,000 Satoshis, I think, per share. And I started buying right at the very beginning. So imagine if you, that's why I say, get in early, get in hard. Imagine you could have bought one share for peanuts way back in the day. And look at how much the Satoshis have increased. If you bought back in August 2020, you had 22,000 Satoshis per share. Now you've got 175,000 Satoshis per share. This single little chart here has helped the world understand, because everybody gets this chart. They don't have to understand what a convertible debt is, or bond market is, or volatility, or playing the vol. All that stuff doesn't matter. But this everybody gets. Sats per share. Simple. Now, forecasting the future, I also put this together in the video, but just to recap, because I even like watching this again myself. You can see that I have a whole bunch of different scenarios as to how much your Bitcoin could grow over time. So if you imagine all the different scenarios, right now you pay about, if you spend $100,000 on Bitcoin price as we speak is $100,052. You get, literally using MicroStrategy shares, you get 0.45 shares. Okay. And by the way, this model also has the NAV premium in it. You'll see two different calculations that arrive at the same thing. The NAV premium is now 2.29 approximately, depending on the price of Bitcoin and the price of the shares. That's all calculated for you. Now here is how to grow your Bitcoin bag. Although it may appear like you're spending 100 grand on Bitcoin, you get one Bitcoin. You spend 100,000 on MicroStrategy shares, you get 0.45 Bitcoin. Sounds like a bad deal, but it's not, because of this, the growth in Bitcoin per share, because of the infinite money glitch. So all the different scenarios, if they can increase the Bitcoin yield 15%, by the way, they're currently running at around 68% right now, Bitcoin yield so far this year. So it is bonkers. If they can sustain 15%, that 0.45 Bitcoin grows to over 4 Bitcoin in 10 years. If it's a 20%, that grows to over 6 Bitcoin. Remember, your 1 Bitcoin that you have on, say, Coinbase or whatever remains 1 Bitcoin. Your half a Bitcoin on MicroStrategy shares turns into 4 or 6 or 9 or 13, depending on exactly how much yield they have per year. And my most conservative is the MicroStrategy Bitcoin yield of 30%, starting in 2025, dropping all the way down to 10% in 10 years. In a linear fashion, that will turn 0.45 Bitcoin into 5 Bitcoin in 10 years. So this goes back actually to the very first question. This one, yes, we should probably hold. Let the winner run. And the more numbers I look at, the more I convince myself, yeah, hold it, hedge it. That's my plan. Next, so the tax man doesn't get his piece of my skin. Let's go, Nico B. This is a cool question, and I love clever questions. Thank you, Nico. James and team, what is the fully diluted cost per transaction on something like Visa or PayPal, and how does that compare to Solana? I'm trying to get an idea for how far Solana needs to go to compete with these big boys or force them into using Sol as a global platform. I love the way you think. Let's get into it. First of all, I calculated the actual cost of each transaction on Visa. Visa does about 1.6 billion transactions a day. Again, during the Christmas season, it might be more. During, I don't know, January, it might be less. But on average, 1.6 billion transactions a day around the world. Their market cap is $609.5 billion. Therefore, the Visa value is $381 of market cap per transaction. Okay? Visa. Let's look at MasterCard. MasterCard does a lot less transactions. I was shocked how far they do 600 million or 0.6 billion transactions a day. Their market cap is $485.14 billion. That's $808 per transaction. Now, it's funny. This one does a billion more transactions, but the market cap on this one is almost the same. So as a rudimental financial analysis, Visa's a better buy, okay? That's how I look at things. And as a caveman, anybody can see that right now. But let's compare it to crypto. So this is from the Crypto Compendium dashboard, or the SEP Profiler dashboard, in fact. It shows you the amount of market cap divided by the number of daily transactions per chain. And the winner is Cardano, $484,239 per transaction, which is not actually a winner. That's actually very expensive. Stacks is number 2, $435,000. ETH number 3, $382,000. Polkadot is number 4, $357,000, etc. And when you look in Solana, it's down there, $2,645. So let's see how they all stack up. All right, first chart I will share with you, because I love your question. Putting it all together, Sol versus Visa versus MasterCard. You can see Visa is at $381, MasterCard $809, and Solana is the most expensive, $2,645. But remember, I forgot to add a chart I shared on Patreon this morning. It shows you the adoption, the growth of adoption of crypto this year has just gone vertical. Over 15.5 million daily active users, and over a third of them are on one chain called Solana. Remember, we're still early. We're going to probably 100 million daily active users on crypto, which means 1 billion monthly active users, which means 1 billion people in crypto, which means the market cap should easily be $10 trillion, which has been my goal for a while. Anyway, that's that. But let's compare. Let's mix it up a little bit. Add in another name, Cardano. So here we see Visa, $381, MasterCard, $809, Solana, $2,645, and Cardano, $484,000 of market cap per daily transaction. But it gets worse. Let's throw in XRP for giggles. 381 for Visa, 800 for MasterCard, 2,600 for Solana, $500,000 for Cardano, and $2.5 million for XRP. Okay. Hopefully you can all make your own conclusions. The point is, Solana's catching up real fast. Things are better, cheaper, faster on a blockchain than they are on traditional methods. And it will surpass. And other good news too. Shout out to Mert, friend of the channel. Guess who he was hanging out with last night? On the far left is Mike Novogratz from Galaxy Digital. In the middle is Ray Dalio, the legend. Mert was purple pilling, let's call it, for Solana, Ray Dalio. Ray is also a big crypto advocate. He is a Bitcoin holder, understands where the world is going, especially around debt and the fourth turning and all that good stuff. So let's see what happens with these puppies going forward. Could be interesting. Anyway, I thought that dovetail that in here pretty quickly. Next, this is from VBrand. Hey, James, thank you for the life-changing info. The best Patreon if you want to get out of the rat race. Yes, that's the mission. My question is, I want to jump into PTOS, which is pair trading on steroids, and start trading Tesla versus TSLAC to pump my bags. I currently own 88 shares in a Roth. What would this look like? And is there a way to automate this buy and sell versus via TradingView, or is the old school version of blah, blah, see the signal, hop on and sell buy, etc.? So, a very good question. And first of all, let's talk about these two assets, because there's a couple of things that you need to know. Yes, TSLAC is interesting, but you do not want to hold it long term. So if you look at this is just the last month. Tesla's up 40%. TSLAC is down 54%. And yes, TSLAC and Tesla are not perfectly inversely correlated. So bear that in your mind when you're using pair trading on steroids. So basically, 1x exposure on Tesla shares is not 1 on TSLAC, of course. And the reason this falls apart, and if you're holding TSLAC long term, is they reset their exposure daily, which leads to a compounding effect over time with their daily rebalancing. There's volatility decay as well in TSLAC, leverage risk on TSLAC, and the tracking error of all ETFs, especially leverage ETFs, is always there. So be careful. The other thing I do want to stress too as well, as I always say, it's possible to automate all the tools. We have teams that do that. Okay, that's easy, but never ever do it, because never automate. Always keep your eye out the window, as I say. Keep your eye on the macro. If you start trading blindly using automation, you could be blindsided by different things, like an earnings report, like a macro report, like a cut in interest rates, like, I don't know, missile firing in some country. All of these things can actually move the stock, and the models can't anticipate a good or bad earnings report, nor can they anticipate a missile going off, things like that. Sometimes they can sniff things out in the market or when things get toppy or bottomy, but be careful as well. Also, TSLAC on PTOS, yes, it does work 77% of the time. But I do want to stress a couple of things here. One of the things that I like to do with that, especially when Tesla's on a rampage, you only want to basically pair trade on extreme situations. So what I do in this situation for PTOS, I change the upper bound to 3.5 standard deviations plus, and lower bound 3.5 below. Normally it defaults at 2.2, but I moved that up to 3. So I only want to do it at extreme circumstances, or else you could get caught out on a rampage, just like what happened since November 4th because of the election on November 5th. Big deal. So that's an example of keeping the head out the window. All my bags were heavily exposed to November 5th, and therefore I spent 2 months spending 20% of my day every day analyzing data to make sure I didn't have to hedge. That was me with my head out the window, okay? So bear that in mind. Also, don't lock yourself into just one set of pairs. You can do so much more. Check out we have a crowdsourced pair trading on steroids sheet, thousands of pairs all over the world. And look at all the different settings that people have, what works for them. You know, you could trade Palantir, MicroStrategy, Neo, Xpeng, whatever, a whole bunch of other stuff. Energy sectors, oil sectors, etc. Don't limit yourself. Watch the back test, watch the time frame, and keep your head out the window. And yep, you can do it. And a lot of people have had a huge success with that product. Next question. What is your opinion regarding using websites like Market Chameleon, Barcharts to find out option scalping trades? Thank you. This is a brilliant question. I'm very happy it came up because it's so important. So let me break it all down in a simple little list of bullets. First of all, I always blaze my own trail. Let me explain why. Okay, first when we go through this list, always build out your own strategy. Okay, because if you are unique in the market and you've got custom strategies, you have an edge. If everybody uses the same information and jump into the same trade, the trade gets crowded and that crushes volatility. Also, which we've proven recently, if everybody jumps into the same trade like a perp, and then the whole perpetual market gets weighted in one direction, you get hunted by market makers. So always blaze your own trail. If you're all like sheep following each other, you're not going to do well, okay? Second, or third, I don't know where I'm at right now, just thinking out loud, it's very important to develop your own strategy as well and blaze your own trail, because that means you fully understand how to trade, the mechanics of a trade, your strengths, your weaknesses, and that's crucial for adapting to different market conditions, which will always come too. And again, I'll stress one more time, avoid herd mentality. Popular strategies are less effective over time because too many people adopt them. Create your own approach, stay ahead of the curve, understand how the tools work, and that's critical. That's why I teach you how to fish. We'll talk more about that in a second too. Next question is from Adolfo BCN. Happy to be part of the community. What is a gamma squeeze and when happens? When does it happen? So let's talk about that. I'm going to get the best way to explain how it happens is two examples that I lived through and played as well. First of all, let's go back to November, December 2020. This was the massive Tesla gamma squeeze. Again, I was long, thank goodness. If you were short, you got wrecked. So here, your initial conditions, Tesla stock was about to go on a rampage, but many believed it was overvalued. You know, like those analysts who say, oh, the price target's $15 or whatever. And it's trading at 400, kind of like now. Anyway, what happens is traders begin buying, those that are bullish, like me, we start buying a lot of at the money or out of the money call options. And as the price moves up rapidly, and back in this case, if I remember, we moved from about $400 to $600 a share within days. Massive move. The market makers have to jump in as the stock price approached the call option strike prices if they're out of the money. A lot of people FOMO into out of the money options because they're cheaper. And the market makers have to buy the shares to hedge their positions. And that causes the price to go up further. And more people buy more out of the money options calls, and market makers need to buy more stock. And this is the feedback loop that drives a ton of additional buying pressure, and sometimes it can last a few weeks, and it's a self-reinforcing cycle, and the price goes to the moon, and then you got to wait. So you got to wait for the top of that gamma squeeze, watch the mean reversion chart, and then you know when to hedge, because the squeeze ends up being such a powerful force, the stock goes higher than it actually should be. So that's the Tesla gamma squeeze. And we've had many gamma squeezes as well happen over the past year or so. Next one is Gamestop gamma squeeze. This one is funny because this was an interesting twist. The original setup was retail traders identified GameStop as the most heavily shorted stock on the planet. They had some coordinated buying on Reddit or wherever they hang out. Online forums that began buying, again, out of the money call options with very low delta. And the price increased. And that coordinated also, I think a couple of hedge funds jumped in and started playing the same game as retail traders. And that completely smoked those that were short. All right. And this whole delta acceleration, as the price approached strike prices, the options delta grew rapidly. And the market makers were forced to buy as much game shares as they could, and they couldn't get their hands on any. And a massive combination of a gamma squeeze with the short squeeze, huge peak, huge decline. It was so vicious that companies like Robinhood, etc., had to stall the ability to sell the stock or buy the stock. I can't remember which one it was. Whatever it was, you couldn't actually sell. You couldn't get out of the position. So be careful on these games too. But they're fun. I hope that works. And they're fun to watch because it's great to hedge at the top when these things do happen. Next is from Kantoho. Thank you for everything. Hope you and your family are. Yes, they are. With Elon's pay package being rejected again, angry face. What is the impact on the stock and long-term outlook? What is the likelihood of Elon pulling away from Tesla? So Elon doesn't work 7 days a week around the clock for money or fun. He does it to change the world and hopefully get to Mars too. But let's look at what you're talking about here, some of the headlines. A lot of people refer to this as Chinese-level government overreach. The judge single-handedly destroyed Delaware as a home for businesses. Business formation and adjudication is one of the most unhinged examples of leftardian judicial activism in the U.S. law history. On the flip side, as a resident of Texas, I thank Delaware for further enriching us with Tesla moving headquarters there. Thank you, Daniel. Andy Bryant, a judge doesn't have the right to override a company's shareholders. I added the for and against chart on the right there. 528 million were against. That's normally the vanguards of the world or whoever it was. And 1.76 billion were for it. Shout out to Alexander Mertz. That was instrumental in making this happen. And then Chado, this is absolute BS. That judge should be disbarred and previous proceedings overlooked, especially if this is politically corrupt. And yes, it is. And Jason here, shareholder voting power is an illusion in Delaware. The judge overrules your business with absolute authority. This is CCP level authoritarianism over business. Yes, it is. It's egregious. Literally, this judge should be locked up. This is what she looks like. Again, total government overreach, total legal system corruption, and she will go down in flames. That's her, all right? And it's also a low-level judge, too. It's not even a Supreme Court judge in a state. So it will be turned over in the Supreme Court. Not a problem there. Delaware has already been bleeding corporations because of this woman, because of her leftist agenda. Nothing wrong with left or right, but she's hard left and part of the B family. Anyhow, part of the B family means on the same team. So I hope people understand. But this is the 3 days since she rejected the compensation package again, which again is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. The market doesn't care. Tesla shot up 13% after she rejected it. So again, it's not stopping Tesla. The Supreme Court will overrule it. This is illegal. What this judge is doing, completely illegal. And she's an embarrassment to the state of Delaware. And I hope they fix it. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. If you can't trust the legal system, get out of the country. It's that extreme. Anyway, sorry if I'm too vocal, if I offended anybody who were friends of this woman. Anyhow, moving on to the next question. Let's brighten things up a bit. I always seem to be near, this is from Let's Go Crypto. I always seem to be near 0% cash as I've used what I have to invest. Could you explain good rules of thumb to always have cash waiting on the sidelines for a dip, yet not too much, as cash sitting in is not number go up? Thank you. This is a great question, a very important question. And I'll share my approach to cash. And it's pretty crude, pretty simple, but I actually adhere to this very religiously. So my method is as follows. My goals are not your goals. Minimum. Always have about 5% on top of emergency cash, with one big exception. At the bottom of the bear, if you are highly convinced you are at the bottom of the bear, you blow everything. Blow it all. All right? That's the example of that would be Solana at $8, Bitcoin at $15,500, MicroStrategy at $160 before the split, just $16, etc. These are times when you just throw the kitchen sink at the market, okay? But other things always have as well 1 to 2 months of expenses and easily accessible cash for immediate needs and emergencies. You never know when something's going to crop up. You might need new tires in your car. It might be a flood in the house. Something could go wrong. Damage to the roof. You name it. A friend, family in need that you need to bail out. Optimum is always have at least 7%. On top of bull, you start building cash. You start shedding your bags. You know, I've been shedding little pieces of stuff or profit taking to build up the cash reserve as we get higher in the market. I don't, there's this fallacy of selling too early or taking profits too early. And I know sometimes people, I'm actually writing a piece on that, the mental anguish sometimes of, how do I explain this? Missing out is more than holding a loss-making bag. It's weird reptilian brain thing, and I'm breaking it down with Sanjay right now, but it's fascinating psychology. That's coming soon. It's going to be rule du jour number 32, I think. Anyhow, The other thing is, as well, it's important that as your bags grow, your cash percentage should shrink. All right. So imagine you have $100,000 in the market. It goes to $1 million, and you are 7% cash, which would be $7,000. Your portfolio goes to $1 million. Now your cash balance technically is 0.7%, not 7%. So it's important to keep your cash up as your portfolio grows. I hope people got that. It's very important. Next question is from Amir. I'd like to ask if you've considered creating your own ETF, similar to what YouTuber Meet Kevin has done. Many of your loyal followers, including myself, look up to you and would love to follow your investments more closely. I've heard creating your own ETF offers different advantages, etc. And this setup allows everyone to benefit from the compounding effect over time with no interruptions from unnecessary taxes. It would also mean we could enjoy your excellent trading expertise to an even higher degree. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. So I've been presented with this ever since I started for like 3 or 4 years now. And I don't, because first of all, this is kind of an interesting list. And this is all from the heart. It's the reason I do this is, first of all, teach people how to fish. First of all. Second of all, I think I am successful in trading because I approach it as a sport, and I don't have any enthusiasm for financial gain. I only have an enthusiasm for winning and sharing. That's absolutely paramount. Second, or third, or I don't know, I'm just riffing out loud here. Integrity is important. My goal is to educate and not generate fees. Okay. I've made my own money. I don't need money. And ensuring that my advice remains unbiased and focused is in the learner's best interest. And also my mission is to empower. I'm committed to teaching people how to fish financially, enabling them to become self-sufficient. I don't want to be another ETF fund person or a hedge fund or anything like that. Also, by focusing on education, it has a long-term impact and a ripple effect of financial literacy that extends far beyond you as a person or your transactions, but to your family and your friends and your network. And also, this is very fulfilling personally. And seeing other people succeed, becoming millionaires and becoming financially free and quitting their day job is all the reward I want. And the legacy is, again, through teaching, leave a lasting impact on people and their families and financial education. And that's it. The one other thing there, point number 2, which I skipped over, is money corrupts. All right. I've seen it corrupt so many people, and I never want to be exposed to that or be influenced or be pushed to do something because, you know, maybe imagine one big player jumps into the portfolio and they have half the bag and they say, I want you to buy this. I own half the bag. I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that crap. And that's what other people deal with. So yeah, teach people how to fish. Next. This is a pretty long session today, nearly 50 slides so far. This is another cool question from Bonner Rocker. The guy of YouTube channel is also a believer in Tesla and NVIDIA like me, yes. And he made the following investment hypothesis in a video from November 30th. Regarding stock surges, the second wave in the AI field will be led by software companies, e.g. network security, like Fortinet, Palo Alto Networks, and CrowdStrike. The first wave was hardware, NVIDIA. What's your opinion on that? And if you agree, what's your strategy on timing and entry? Thank you for all your hard work. Love this question. It's always good to be ahead of the next wave of curve, whatever's happening right now. I believe, and I've said it very clearly, Tesla's my number 1 AI stock. NVIDIA's my number 2. But let's dig into these guys first. Fortinet, first of all, you can see here they've got good revenue growth, they've got good earnings growth, and they've got good EBITDA. The debt is very consistent. Looks like they're paying it off ever so slightly, and they've got a growing cash balance. So this looks good. Looks very fairly valued. And Fortinet on the ATR model is breaking new all-time highs. That's pretty good as of the end of November. And it's up 517% since 2020. So I personally don't like, I always say don't chase, replace. I don't like buying things like this. Could it continue to break out? Yeah, is it going to triple? No, it's not. It's not NVIDIA. It's a different situation. Next, Palo Alto Networks. Very good revenue growth. Really strong. They flipped to very positive net income as well. And they've been paying down their debt. Nothing but goodness here. And I own it. As the community knows, a year ago, I got into a nice big fat synthetic long on this puppy. And it's been very, very rewarding. Why did I buy? Not because of AI. But the first time I followed her into a trade. This is the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker, and Palo Alto Networks is crushing it. She never misses. And she bought it. And then the US government, in so many levels, federal, state, military, did security deals, license deals with Palo Alto Networks. They should be illegal. It was not by chance. Like, I think I'm going to buy some Palo Alto Networks because I live in California. Palo Alto is a beautiful town. Yes, it is. But no, she knew what was cooking. So this is Palo Alto Networks on the ATR model as well, breaking all-time highs all the time, up 504% since 2020. It's funny because this is 517%. They've gone up almost in lockstep, which is fascinating. Let's check out CrowdStrike. Wow, more good growth. Security is important, but the revenue growth is not there. Cash is growing. Debt is similar to Fortinet. And so, like, look at the chart. It's like almost identical on the debt level. I mean, these companies are all almost mirror images of each other. CrowdStrike on the ATR model is not breaking new all-time highs. It's off the all-time high. Yes, we had that monster dip when they had the big outage that took down airlines and major companies all around the world, and that gave them a ding, but they have recovered nicely. And again, still good. So what's my summary? I own Palo Alto Networks. Okay, it's been very good to me. I don't own any more. I like to have very few assets, but pick the winning one. CrowdStrike do have strong modular adoption, but it is the third most expensive software stock. That's probably why it's not breaking new all-time highs, and they've had recent challenges. Palo Alto Networks shifting to a platform model will really help them. It's a Pelosi favorite. They got tons of government contracts. That's a good thing. And Fortinet, AI-driven SecOps contributions to billings have stagnated at 10% for 4 quarters. If I had to own one, it would be the one that I do own, which is Palo Alto Networks, for those reasons. So hope you enjoyed that. Let's get into a little bit of sad news. This is Reta, a bear held in captivity in Armenia. And we're hoping we can draw attention to, animal welfare organizations. Use your social, go on Twitter to help free bears like Reta from squalid conditions, kept in a tiny little cage, etc. She's welcome to come and live with me if she wants. Anyway, this is for entertainment, for profit, and it's just terrible. So hopefully bring attention to this stuff. And tomorrow, DCA Live, as usual, 7:30, 7:40 a.m., we kick it off. And the agenda is killer. I'm working on it with Marty. He's going to moderate. We're going to cover about 18 topics that are critical to know for Alpha tomorrow. So join the team here. The number one all-in pod, crypto style, alpha style that you will find on YouTube. After the all-in pod, of course, we do something completely different. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I'm going to answer some live questions now. Thank you to the mods in the chat. And I did not even check on the price of Bitcoin. And of course, it's just hovering. I mean, the joke is if you take a drink every time Bitcoin crosses $100,000, you're going to run out of booze because it goes up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. Anyhow, over to the questions. Thank you as well for gathering them. First one, Doc Intern, my Schwab 401k won't allow scalping MicroStrategy trades. They have to settle overnight before buying the same security again. That's weird because I have a lot of margin available anyway, but that should not be. Oh, maybe, you know what? I think I know what the problem here is. Your 401k is controlled by your company and they may have rules and regulations. If what you should do is, if you can, move your 401k to an IRA, move it to Robinhood, and Robinhood Yes, I can sell a very large bag of MicroStrategy, instantly get a fill, instantly get the credit and rotate that into another asset like Tesla in a second. Literally in a second. It's incredible, the speed. So yeah, that's a problem with your 401k. Those rules, I think, are regulated by your employer, not by Schwab. If you had a Schwab brokerage account, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Nick M., thanks for what you do. My pleasure. Can you please share with us the total SOL remaining at the exchanges, similar to the chart you shared yesterday about Bitcoin and ETH? I don't have that data because that data is not tracked by Glassnode. I'm hoping in the future the on-chain analytics will be better, Nick, for other chains. I also do know it's probably more scarce because everybody stakes their SOL. So it's probably even more scarce. And the people that are in Solana are kind of more crypto sophisticated, so they definitely wouldn't want to hold anything on exchanges. You know, not your keys, not your coins, all that stuff. The solid people would stake it or use it for trading on hot wallets. Spread it out, of course, as usual. So Nick, when the time comes and we have that data, you'll be the first to see it. Thank you. That was actually an eye-opening chart yesterday, especially seeing the amount of Bitcoin and exchanges drain. Blaze the Gecko, thank you too for coming. I've been, thank you for your time, support, and expertise daily since October 2021, for me anyway. Much love and gratitude. Thank you so much, Blaze, for coming. Actually, October 2021. Yeah, it was an interesting time, for sure. We went down from there up till November 2022. So you jumped in at the end of the party, let's say. Anyway, thanks for being here, Blaze. I am Colt. I operate an Airbnb that nets $1,000 to $2,000 a month. I'd like to invest a portion of that. What should I focus on? Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, Tesla, something else? Oh, yeah. I mean, everything has run so much. We saw, I have a kind of like a joke I tweeted on Twitter the other day. It's like Tesla at $106. Nobody interested. 150 crickets. 200 nothing. 250 nothing. 300 nothing. 395. Everybody wants to get some. I mean, we've had a rampage in just a month. I mean, 15% in the last 3 days. It's been kind of crazy. So I'm always hesitant to buy at these levels. But definitely, if you don't have any Tesla, just start snacking away. So if you have, you know, you're netting $1,000 to $2,000 a month. I don't know what you've got to pay on taxes, but you got a $1,000 to invest. I'd get a little IRA or tax-free account and just pair trade Tesla and MicroStrategy all day. I mean, that's fun. And just snack on some Tesla shares and try to get to 300 Tesla shares. It's a critical retire on number in the US. Sir Winston, I kindly request having a glass of red tonight and smile regarding the animals you help in the community. You're helping us in our journey. It's special. We appreciate you. I appreciate you too, Sir Winston, for being here also through all the good times and bad. Appreciate you. And I never forget a name as long as I read it. If I hear it, I forget. If I read it, I never forget. Or an image. Tesla Hoarder. I have even allocations of MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, ETFs, and Tesla in a 401k. Would it be better to swap out of ETFs for more MicroStrategy due to fees? This is interesting. So again, think of the ETFs being a call option in the future, so they will get very good returns. The fees are very minimal. If you're an IBIT, it's 25 basis points. You won't even notice that. It's nothing. So I wouldn't sweat the fees too much. But MicroStrategy gets more return in a bull market. Watch out in the bear. So if we have a bear. So I wouldn't sweat the fees too much on the Bitcoin ETFs. Yeah, just keep those portions. Let me see. You'd be 66% Bitcoin then, between Bitcoin and proxies, which is not bad. And thank you as well for your super sticker, Daryl Anderson, Andy, Bad Brad 17, Sir Winston, Bitbuyer, Forrest MB for Bitcoin, Hudson the Dog, Beatty McGee, Ragnar, and Piper up there in Canada. Thank you all for coming. And Signal 103. That was a big show. We got through it fast, so in under 50 minutes. Tons of stuff and 55 topics or 55 slides. Thanks all for coming. Bitcoin is now about to break 100,000 again. So don't drink every time it does because it's chopping sideways. But Sunday night is pump night when Asia opens. So watch the markets around 2 to 3 hours from now. See if the Asians are buying. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you to the mods in the chat. TND Tesla, Sean Donnelly, K8, and everybody else. And Sir Winston, you're too much. I appreciate you, buddy. And you take care of yourself, everybody. Have a good night. Now I got to figure out I got everything jumbled up. I can't even find the screen where I control everything. Here it is. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.